heinous crimes are being committed with apparent abandon and the perpetrators are rarely brought to book. Integrity, justice and honesty are no longer principles that are of any value anymore. Instead, thuggery and brutality is sweeping the country and the law enforcement authorities appear to be totally ineffective. Whether this situation is due to politics, bad administration or corruption that is creeping into the very annals of justice is the focus of tonight's discussion. With me in the studio today, I have Mr. Ravi Karunanayake, Member of Parliament for the United National Party, Mr. Tassi Seneviratne, who is a retired Senior Superintendent of Police, the former Director of the Police Special Branch, which is also the Police Intelligence Wing, Mr. Kumara CHAPA Bandara, who is a journalist at the Ravia newspaper, Mr. Sarath Pereira, who is an attorney at law, and Mr. Joseph Charles, who is also an attorney at law. To begin with, Mr. Seneviratne, tell me, why do you think that there is an apparent sense of absolute lawlessness in the country today?
You see, most people attribute the grave law and order situation to police incompetence. In fact, the incompetence on part of the police is an extraordinary incompetence. The police just don't see what everyone else can see. But let me tell you, this extraordinary incompetence is an acquired incompetence to suit corrupt politicians. Politicians not only misuse police powers, but also find ready scapegoats to pass the buck and cover up political connivance in crime and underworld rackets whenever there is a public outcry about the law and order situation. What most people don't realize is the universally accepted fact that authority and responsibility go together and cannot be separated. While the police force is the premier law enforcement agency, the Minister of Defence holds the authority in all affairs that matter, such as selection for enlistments, transfers, postings, punishments, and hence the Minister is fairly and squarely responsible for the law and order situation in this country as we see today. Apart from the Minister of Defence and the police, the Attorney General and the Judiciary complete the circle of law enforcement authorities, and therefore the parts played by them have also got to be probed. Mushrooming of underworld gangs, mafia-type drug barons and casino kings, all enjoying political patronage, are all too well known and need no elaboration here.
But Mr. Seneviratne, if I may interrupt you there, you know, it's all well and good, I guess, to say that, okay, that the police are under terrific political patronage in that sense, and so they cannot perform their duties. Is that what you are saying?
I will also say, have to say what the police itself is.
Yes.
Well, probably you don't want the cause for the lawlessness, like the rising cost of living, unemployment, youth frustrations have also given way to an upsurge in thefts and robberies.
But why are the police so ineffective today, Mr. Seneviratne?
Well, now whenever there is a hue and cry about the law and order situation and gun culture in the country, special orders are sent down by the President herself, ordering the police to stem the tide. I mean, this is a joke, asking the police to do their job. There are no special orders necessary for that. Anyhow,
but why can't the police do their job? Why
whenever a cleanup is initiated and criminals, underworld elements and mafia thugs enjoying political patronage are caught up in the net, police officers trying to do a job of work are unceremoniously transferred out. It is also a fact that too many police officers readily give in to the wishes of politicians at the expense of their duties, not only as a means to survive but also to advance their progress in the service. From this point, they go further and resort to all the sordid and uncontrolled forms of corruption, and the net result is what we see today.
Was that your experience when you served in the police force?
It's much worse now. It was starting then. You know, renegades in the police force are too many, and it is they who hold the key positions today, while the straight and honest officers get sidelined. What can one expect in such a setup?
Now, Mr. Karunanayake, if you could come in on this. I think Mr. Seneviratne has been saying this is all due to very corrupt politicians. Now, maybe I should just define that a bit with you, Mr. Seneviratne. Before that, are these politicians all from the ruling party, or are they from both, the opposition as well? that influence the police?
I would say the period I have seen covers even before the present ruling party came. And it is the ruling party that has a control over the police.
Would you agree, Mr. Karunanayaka?
Frederica, I won't take it on a wholesale basis, but I certainly do subscribe to the feeling that yes, political patronage is a major deterrent on the effective service of the police. But there again, I think it is a lack of a will or the straightforwardness of the police as well that has contributed to this. I think Mr. Seniratha quite rightly said, to ensure your personal advancement, then you team up with the politicians. I think it is not correct to say that all politicians, but certainly it has become highly politicized. But what I think is necessary today is a much different approach. I think what we have got to do is to depoliticize this. And if we don't do this, certainly you have the political patronage taking place. And I take it, I would say the rot starts right from the top. And you would see over the passage of time, it has become bad to us, and now it has become intolerable. It has come to the point of, for 1,000 rupees murders take place and everything gets covered up. Sometimes the police are also involved in it, and sometimes it is the ex-serviceman. Now I guess this also quite rightly comes stemming from also economic problems, because I would say terrorist problems, or the root of it is owing to a lack of a strong economy. And I think if there is a very vibrant economy, the very roots or the fueling for this gets eradicated. And if you look at advanced countries where economies are self-sufficient, self-dependent, you would see the crimes are much less. And also another thing now, the people those days, I would say 15, 20 years ago, if a dog on the road gets knocked down, water out of tears come into people's eyes. Now you have 200 people getting killed, and I guess they ask, is it 200 or 250? That is the level. And then what happens is the police disregard us. People even don't go and complain today. People are worried because if you go and complain today, it would be that you will be the next victim tomorrow. Because there is the political setup inside the police. There are 353 police stations, if I'm not wrong. And at the beck and call of an MP of an area, you basically transfer OIC or the SSP or something that to run into major
problems. Do you also have the power to do that as the MP for Kotte?
As a member of parliament, there are certain privileges and powers that come, but you could ask any police station in this country whether we have ever used that power. The thing is, that's the difference. You may have everything at your beck and call, but it is whether you have got to use it or not. And I guess to date, I have been 7 years as a member of parliament, not one time have I called even to say to interfere on any matter, because I think that is the bane of politics. And if we resort to this type of level, then where are you going to stop? We are trying to change the structure, change the culture, and make it a better tomorrow.
But we've also been told, Mr. Karunanayaka, that most politicians have their own private armies, as it were. Does this apply to you too?
Well, that is a very good question that is posed on many politicians. When you say army, it is basically meant underworld. And I guess this is another curse that is happening. Because even if you have security officers of your own, which is private in nature, that could be regarded as underworld. Anything which goes on, the People's Alliance have a hobby topic. Anything that went on in the last 17 years was the underworld. I'm sorry, the United National Party. And anything that goes on now is the underworld. I mean, who controls the underworld? I mean, I would say the very people who use this, like drunkards using lampposts to, stay straight, that is the example they use. And I guess you would, in no way, I don't encourage or subscribe to that thinking at all. And if ever there is an attempt of any of that nature, I think politicians must be made open that these are guys who are having these type of connections. So I guess there's absolutely, I don't subscribe, and I don't even want to associate such level. But in politics, you have every Johnny that comes along, and sometimes you may have certain undesirable characters that are within, knowingly or unknowingly. So if Sandi one gets pointed out, in that case, you saw Mr. Rauf Hakim, who's a minister, who accused Anuruddha Ratwatta as being, having thuggery, intimidation going on. Now I know Mr. Anuruddha Ratwatta, but I don't call his underworld element, So those are the definitions that could be used.
Yes.
Yeah. Law and order is very necessary. And we know the guardians of the law are the judiciary, the police forces and the armed forces. So when there is anarchy or violence, some revolution takes place, so the whole blame goes to those forces. Invariably the state blames them. Now in this case today, we know the present situation in Colombo, the place is identified as a security zone. Every half a mile you get a checkpoint. Nearly 40 to 35% of the police and the armed forces are present in Colombo for the security reason, to give security to mostly to the power politicians and various other people who are holding important position. Therefore in Colombo we cannot say there are crimes where violence is in. Crimes in the sense violence. Crime means it can be white collar crime also, where fraud is involved, where bribery is involved. Now take the place of even bribery is concerned, if people can now openly take bribe, because the bribery commission is not in existence. So there is lawlessness among the public servants.
Yes.
They can openly take any money because the bribery department is dead. Though they have appointed, they closed down in 1995 because there were certain petitions came against city members of parliament as well as ministers. So those petitions, when they were to be investigated, they were suppressed. Then the 3 members who were occupying the seats of the commission could not work because the whole staff and the police were taken away. Thereafter that was not active. Later, last year, after the present government came into power, they appointed another committee. In that committee 3 members have come in. Now even there is lack of staff. There are no people taken into custody. Now you take I am working in the Chief Magistrate's Court for the last 24 years. Presently I am a member of the Provincial Council. Before that I was a member of the Municipal Council. I am not an active politician as Mr. Karunanayake, but I am just coming. 25 years I have been there. So I have a little more practical experience to talk on this subject, because I am doing only criminal work. Now, most of the cases presently in Colombo Magistrates Court or the Chief Magistrates Court are white collar offences. In the sense, you know, our courts are surrounded by Fort and Peta, the main business areas. There the businesses are done by checks. You purchase some items and give the check, that particular person presents it to the bank and the check is dishonored. These are powerful business people, society itself.
So Mr. Charles, are you saying that heinous crimes are not being committed?
No, not in Colombo.
What about some of the more recent crimes? I mean, Mr. Karunanayaka's family recently was a recipient of a gruesome act.
Yes, I agree with you. Mr. Karunanayaka is a very prominent politician. He came second in the Colombo district, I am aware.
What about the customs officer who was gunned down last Saturday in broad daylight?
Up to now, no suspects have been arrested. So we do not know the motive behind.
But that was
we do not know what is the connection the deceased customs officer had with the hired killer.
Then 2 days ago at Athidia, 2 young boys, 2 brothers, 17 and 19 years old, were shot dead while watching television in their home.
Yes. These type of things, I am coming from Colombo North. These underworld connections are mostly in regard to this heroin.
But how do you know those boys had an underworld connection? I mean, I'm just saying the crimes have escalated. They're so brutal now. It's nothing.
So they give them a particular job to go and hand it to a particular quantity of heroin or ganja or whatever it is. If that does not reach the destination, or if they do not do the job properly, sell it and give the money back to the person who sent them, then the assassination takes place.
In November last year, Nimala Rajan, a journalist in Jaffna, was shot dead during a curfew, during a military imposed curfew. So, I mean, we are not looking only at Colombo. As I said in my introduction,
that was an allegation that EPD has done it. What about the EPD has done it? There was allegation.
No, but it has not been proved.
I don't know. I read it in the papers, in the Tamil papers, Tinamarosu. That is a EPD paper itself. I read. EPD paper itself. That paper indicated. I read through impliedly that is a job done by the EPDP.
So if the EPDP has done it, as you say, why have they not been prosecuted?
You know, because they are cooperating with the government. It is the EPD which is controlling 2/3 of the northern province.
So we come back to what Mr. Senivarathan was saying about the politics involved in
the fact that there is no proof or evidence in the customs officer killing and all this makes the situation much worse.
Of course. That the
situation is not-
perpetrators
May I
are
say
never
this?
brought to
That
book.
is correct.
You
I
treat
agree
them
with
as
the-
very simple.
Yes,
Heroin is given, if there's not to
No,
kill.
no.
And
So killing has
perpetrators
become
are
that
never
simple.
caught. I mean, even in Nimalajan's killing, his killers
Much
yet
worse
not
in
been
the sense,
apprehended.
much worse in the sense, now this particular murder, this customs officer's murder, was very much highlighted in the media, the papers, the electronic media. So we only look at that particular matter. So it is highlighted, we are thinking, and we are day and night we are discussing this in our clubs, in our pubs, at our homes, everything we are talking about that, how this happened. But we do not know. The police are also trying to do their job. The
Are they?
Yes,
That
because
is
the
the
customs
issue here.
officers union have made representations to them. To
But
take
are the
some,
police doing their job now? That's the whole issue here.
so sometimes
Why are they not even able to prevent crime from escalating?
No, Federica, excuse me, now there is a
Yes.
problem. Now he says, now I do not agree with him, right? And you should allow me to talk in single also.
Yes, of course. Go
right?
ahead.
The first question is that I have to ask, he says that Nimalajan was killed in Jaffna Peninsula by EPDP, right? First question is on what basis that he is telling that?
Yeah, of course.
And
There's no-
second
there's
time
no
he
proof.
says this custom officer was assassinated by, I mean, no one knows.
no identification.
So yeah, there is a problem. Now how do you say Nimalajan was killed by EPDP?
Shall I reply that?
Yeah, please.
Vimal Rajan was shot dead on the basis he was trying to give some information after the general elections that most of the votes were illegal votes which have been dumped by the EPDP. And that information he wanted to give it to some international community. That the EBT came to know, and they have shot him. It is on that
But
basis.
where is your proof?
Proof in the sense, I can't get witnesses. The only thing I read the news.
But
paper.
you can't make such a
In the
sweeping
same way, we
statement
can
like
talk
that
of this
without
custom officer
proof.
also.
That is actually
He
about
was
that paper.
conducting, no, he was conducting 2-3 investigations.
Yes.
In that
Right?
case, we can say
I mean,
so
there
and
is a
so killed
difference. I
him.
do not
All
agree
this
with
is speculation.
argument.
Of course.
And no evidence. No proof.
But that is
So-
the point of this discussion, Mr. Charles.
Yes.
That is what it comes down to. Always it is speculation, and that's the end of it. The perpetrators of the crime are never brought to book. You and I can speculate only that the EPDP perhaps killed Nimala Rajan. We don't know. Nobody has been arrested.
Frederica, you could also add on, what about that young journalist Rona Chandana? I mean,
Exactly.
what happened to him? What
Exactly.
connection did he have?
No,
I mean,
shall
just
I-
because
shall I-
he probed and brought out something sensational does not mean that you have to get the death warrant. So I guess, there again, what has the police done? There was
Exactly.
information very categorically reported in many papers, including CHAPA's paper, saying that there was a police checkpoint and they had got certain information. Don't check any of these people.
This is Rohana Kumar.
Rona Kumar, I'm sorry, Rona
you're
Kumar.
referring to.
So
And
likewise-
recently, I think the man who was supposed to have killed him, I don't know, was also gunned down at Kalamoville. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Chapa. So
So
where
as
are we
it
going?
is, you all are now pointing out that your position is now the police are not doing their job properly, or they are doing it partially.
Any job
They're not
better,
doing
that's
any job.
No, that may be. But my position is, though I am in the UNP party, I am not going to use this as a political platform
No,
to
this
discuss
is not a political
any matter.
platform.
As
This
a
is very
lawyer, I
much a
say even for the
people
police
issue.
officers, even as a police officers, to start an investigation, there must be something to begin with.
What do
There
you
must
mean?
be some sort of evidence.
You mean to say they don't have evidence to begin an
It's easy
investigation?
for us to sit and talk here.
No,
We must
now,
understand their job also.
I will read you a good document. Actually, I do not know. I mean, way of analyzing these crises. These are real crises, right? I will tell you now. These are report, situation report for the period from 600 hours on 10/10/2000 to 600 hours on 11/10/2000. Right? This is not my report. Police Communication Center, Mirihana, 11th October 2000. Writing to Inspector General of Police. Right? It is signed by Deputy Officer IGS Command from Mirihana, F. Burke, B-U-R-K, his name, SSP, right? These are real report, okay? Now, in this report, I would like to read the paragraph. They are talking of Valikada, right? This is a police investigations report. On 10/10/2000, around 45 hours, a group of police officers attached to the PSD and PA candidate Chandra Silva had travelled in vehicles bearing numbers 56-1226, 58-9250, 58-5933, 56-3014, 538210 and 59-1648 New Colonnavo Road, Obesekarapura, shooting at random. When police mobile party signaled them to stop. They had escaped, defied the orders, and police opened fire. Obesekarapura sustained injuries and admitted to National Hospital. Others were identified as one, Baddagane Sergeant Sanjeeva Pereira. He is attached to PST. Now I am talking of a police report, recognized police report. So we have to analyze these crises at this level. මම කතා කරන්නේ මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වූ දින මිරිහාන පොලිසියේ SSP තමයි එදා දිවයිනේම සිද්ධ වෙන රාජකාරී සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොලිස් වාර්තාවක් සුපුරුදු පරිදි ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ පොලිස් පොතිට. මේ පොලිස් වාර්තාවේ පැහැදිලිවම කියනවා ජනාධිපති ආරක්ෂක ඒකකයේ බැද්දිගානේ සංජීව සාජන්ට් බැද්දිගානේ සංජීව කෝට්ටේ ප්‍රදේශයේ තවත් පිරිසක් සමග චන්ද්‍රඩි සිල්වා කියන දේශපාලනඥයත් එක්ක වෙඩි තබමින් ගිය ආකාරය. ඊට පස්සේ උන් පැන යන ආකාරයත් මේ වාර්තාවේ කියනවා. මේ පොලිස් පොතිට කියන්නේ. දැන් ඔබ කියන ආකාරයට ඒ කියන්නේ පොලිසිය නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා. පොලිසිය දකින්නවා මේක. පොලිසිය විහිළු කරන්නේ නැහැ නේ. පොලිසිය දකින්නවා. දැන් මේ පිළිබඳව සාක්ෂියක් නොතිබ්බනම් මේ පොලිස් නිලධාරියා මේක විහිළුවටවත් ලියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔහුට ඉතා පැහැදිලි විශ්වාසයක් තියෙන නිසා මේක ලියනවා. ලියලා දෙන්නේ කාටද? ඉන්ස්පෙක්ටර් ජෙනරල් ඔෆ් පොලිස්. පොලිස් පොතිට කාටද මේ පිටපත් යන්නේ? HE the president, honorable prime minister. ඊට පස්සේ තියෙන මේ ගොඩක් විස්තර ජනාධිපතිවරියට ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්වරයාට ඇතුළු විශාල පිරිසකට මේ වාර්තාව යනවා. මේන් කියවෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? ෆෙඩරිකා මේක තමයි මේ කතාවේ යථාර්ථය. අපි ඇනලයිස් කරන්න පටන් ගන්න වෙන්නේ ඉතිහාසයේ පටන් මේ සියලුම දේශපාලන පක්ෂ බලයට එන තමන්ගේ අතට මේ නීති ගන්නවා. දැන් මේ වෙනකොට මේ නීති ආයතනගත කරලා තියෙනවා. ආයතනගත කරන්නේ කොහොමද? ජනාධිපතිවරිය හෝ ඊළඟට එන ජනාධිපතිවරයා කියනවා උඹලා මිනිමරපල්ලා. අපි බලා ගන්නවා. අපි උඹලා ආරක්ෂා කර ගන්නවා. එතකොට ඒ කියන උදවිය මිනි මරන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. ආණ්ඩු මාරු වෙනකොට මේ අන්ඩර්වර්ල්ඩ් එක කියලා අපි කියන මේ අපරාධ වලට සම්බන්ධ උදවිය මාරු කර ගන්නවා. ඒ වකට 80 දශකයේ එක්සත් ජාතිපක්ෂයත් එක්ක හිටපු උදවිය දැන් පොදු පෙරමුණත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා. නැවත එක්සත් ජාතිපක්ෂ ආණ්ඩුවක් આવොත් ඔවුන් සමග ඒගොල්ලන් ඒකාබද්ධ වෙනවා. මැතිවරණත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා මැතිවර දූෂණ කරලා ඡන්ද පෙට්ටි උසලා මිනි මරලා එකතු වෙනවා. මේ ප්‍රවණතාව අපි හඳුනා නොගත්තොත් අපිට විශාල ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයා හෝ වරිය කියනවා නම් මිනි මරන්න මම බලා ගන්නම් ඒක. තවමත් මේ කතා කරන මොහොතේ බැද්දගානේ සංජීව කියන චෝදනා 100 ගණනක් ඔහුට විරුද්ධව පුවත්පත්වල ගියා. ඔහු තවමත් ජනාධිපති ආරක්ෂක ඒකකේ ඉන්නවා. ඒ රටේ ජනාධිපති
Yeah. What do you have to say to that?
What I have to say is police misgiving their weaknesses. Normally any police will try to protect the state or the government which is in existence.
Why?
Whether it is
But why?
because
That should not be so.
the government concern has the control over the police.
That's the problem we are talking about.
That is why we have called for an independent police commission. Our leader has called for an independent. That is a different subject. I don't want to go into that now. Now my friend says both parties will get together one day and this will be repeated again. That is one thing. Violence is one thing, crime is one thing, offense is another thing. But the killings is a different thing. Killings. Now this one minute. I'll come to that. Now what about this murder? Customs officer, that is a private vendetta.
Private?
Not a political motivation.
investigation. You don't say that. As a lawyer, you have to be very careful.
Right. No. I am
Any investigation.
You don't know.
That is right.
Politically
You don't know
motivated. That is so.
But whether it's
See,
political or
similarly,
not,
what the discussion here, I understand is there is no private killings, only everything is politically motivated killings. Is it the position of the members here first? I would like
That's not what we're
Yes,
talking
they always
about.
say customs officer is killed, must be some minister, somebody
No, we have not
we have
created
somebody
that.
done this, somebody
They are busy the woods from the tree.
He is asking about the present system. What about the system in 71 and the 89
that's
system?
what I'm telling you.
That system
Yeah.
was not by the police.
that is
That
my
was
point.
done by the individual taking the law into their own hands.
He is
That's not
defending
telling.
a position that has not been taken by anyone.
He is questioning me whether the police have done this, and the part is making the allegation that the Podu Peramano and the UNP are the same. In future also it will be the same.
I fully agree that it has been the same.
It has been the same that way, but we didn't take the law into our hands and started killing people like in 1971 and 1989.
So that's a different matter. I mean,
You can't
No,
say
but
you did
what
that.
do you do
First
now,
wash your
Mr.
hands,
Pereira?
come before us and make the allegation.
Mr. Pereira, what would you do as a lawyer in this situation which CHAPA just identified?
Yeah, but
This is a
before-
police communication, right? What do you do? It's been sent to the IGP and to the president of this country.
Yeah, that is right.
Nothing has come of it as far as we know.
Yes.
So what do you do in this situation? This is what we are talking about.
Yeah, no,
We will have to go before the Human Rights Commission.
no,
Human Rights Commission.
We are not talking about this. We are talking about the lawlessness in the country.
Isn't that lawlessness?
No,
what
that
you
is
just
right.
referred
That is
to?
right. But this, we have to focus on the basis, on the foundation on which this situation has arisen. Now, just because police is inefficient or they are not doing they are partial, is not our. Today the subject is lawlessness in the country.
But isn't that lawlessness
That is
as
right.
a result of the police being partial and ineffective?
For that, we must go to the root of the thing. The root of the thing, the reason for all this is not this police exercise or police inefficiency.
Then what is the reason?
The basic reason is the disparity in economic and social disparity prevailing in this country. That is the cause of all this. So without talking about that, without discussing that, it is useless going.
So you are saying because there's an economic disparity, people are murdering each other,
Yes.
throwing human body parts into politicians' families' residences.
If you
All
allow
that
me
is
to-
because of a disparity,
If you
economic
allow me to
disparity.
explain,
Yes.
I will explain that.
Okay.
So because of the disparity, the money now in this present context, money has become the paramount thing in the society. Everybody wants money. So due to this, as a direct result of this, the traditional values of the society is deteriorated or completely knocked off. Right? The basic thing is the disparity, economic and the social disparity. As a direct result of that, the traditional values have gone up, deteriorated to a certain extent. People kill like this, right? Then, because of the same thing, the money is paramount. The politicization is also coming into the society. Every institution in this country is politicized now. Politicians have all the power to do anything in any place they want. So due to this, police inefficiency is due to this, not for anything else. We must look at from that angle, and bribery and corruption is also one aspect, but all this we have to start from the very beginning, that disparity, economic and social disparity which is prevailing in this country.
Would you agree, Mr. Srinivasan?
Oh, disparity, I mean, there was more poverty in the past and we didn't have these problems. Poverty, it is actually the opposite. Let me explain.
Yeah.
More money, a lot of these sort of, apart from underworld, what you call casinos and the gun dealing and you see, is rivalry at that level that all these killings are taking place, most of them.
We are talking about these minor murders and incidents. We are talking about
What
robberies.
do you differentiate
I
as a minor
definitely
murder?
I feel now as it is, we take this election time at November, then the presidential election, then the general election. There were a lot of violence. Some places they won by way of violence. Police took part mostly in these things, and police gave protection to these people. What did they take action? Opposition made certain representations, they wanted to appoint commissions, they went to courts, nothing happened. That is why our party is urging for an independent police commission, public commission, and what is the other commission?
Election commission.
Election commission. If these things come and if a proper government is formed, I think these things can all be controlled, because as long as the police is under the control of the particular government, we cannot expect an impartial inquiry into any matter.
I don't see anybody disputes that stance, Charles. I think that is the necessity.
Yeah.
But what we are basically talking is that there is absolutely no law and order present today. Now this results. I don't subscribe to the feeling that you mentioned, saying it is the poor people. I think the poor people of this country are the most honest people of the land. Economy has an impact, I certainly do, because when the businesses start falling and all those things, those do have a problem on the entire society. Today, when there's a moral, cultural, political degradation, I think these have definitely nobody contests that it is definitely happening. But the point of issue is that when you have elections and when you rig, intimidate and thuggery is the order of the day, when people want to change, you can't. Then when you go to recourse, you go to courts, and when they just throw it out without any rhyme or reason. Then when you go to parliament and you have no satisfaction or no proper answer that comes out. then people take the law into their hands. And that is what has happened today. I mean, just because there is no, the police is ineffective, or we don't know what the motive is, that poor custom officer, he has the right to live. I mean, who is the person who has the right to say that is a private feud, this is a political feud, and he should be done away with?
He was certainly not killed by a poor man who had nothing to do with
Absolutely, it is of the highest of elements in the.
I am totally disagreeing.
Yes, Mr.
I am
Pereira.
totally disagreeing with what Mr. Seneviratne said. Now, killing. Take for example, killing of the customs. Who has done this? So done by a killer, contract killer. He did it for what? He did it for money.
We don't know. It's not been proved yet.
It is not proved.
It is all speculation.
That is the thing. Before it is being proved, the electronic media and the media goes and uses separately different picture.
The person who paid the killer is not innocent. He is more guilty than anybody else.
There is no smoke without fire, Mr.
Every underworld activity.
Yeah, dealt with
there is money
underworld
behind.
also, I know.
Nobody will do anything without money. Now, Mr. Karunanayaka said that people are rigging election. Who are going to rig election? People who got money. The politicians themselves pay money to certain people, poor people. Go and do this. So they did it for money.
Okay.
What is
in
Kandy,
the present defense minister got down nearly about 1,500 trucks
by paying money.
By paying money. Because they are from Colombo, I knew. They were not here in Colombo, they were there.
No question about that.
DM Jayaratne minister makes an allegation in the papers and writes to the president to say that this man is having a group of people like this, and they are going house to house, harassing people, taking the votes and coming to vote. Between the two ministers in the same party. What action? Nothing. And she had stated if she found any member or minister indulging in this type of activities during the election, he will not be given a portfolio.
But that only corroborates the claim we are trying to make. Because if that DIG, who stood very firmly against Anuruddha Ratwatta, is transferred, basically, I mean, you must take your hats off to a guy of that nature. Correct. I mean, when you do that, so the problem that comes is, owing to the political patronage, the police is ineffective. So it comes back to the police is basically today powerless for the simple reason that his future is at stake. So I think the crux of the matter is getting that depoliticized. I mean, I don't think there is any debate between any of us that the police is incompetent and inefficient because of political patronage.
That is not the position.
Now,
here.
Whether it is money, whether it is foreign, whether it is intelligence agency from overseas that is coming is not the question. But what needs to be eradicated is that particular interference, whether it is political.
Their hands are tied by the politicians.
Now that is what should be eradicated. So where are we coming to? We must first of all, when there, I mean, basically there is a system, but when the system fails, that's why I said the courts fail. There's a private media. Thanks to them, they are effective. At least today, there is something going on. Imagine if the media is also like Daily News and Rupawahini. I don't think there is any necessity to live in Sri Lanka.
So there you are.
Mr. Karunanayaka, this reminds me.
Political control. It is the judiciary, the Attorney General's department.
There is interference even in the judiciary. There is interference in the Attorney General's department. Everywhere there is political interference.
That's where it
And
is.
my point, what I'm trying to make is, I mean, even a journalist like CHAPA can perhaps be gunned down one day for something that he writes. Someone may not like it. I mean, are we all going to sit on the fence and watch it continue to happen?
So you are expecting us to suggest some solution how to defend Jaffa.
Well,
People like Jaffa.
So much
we have
a solution.
I thought democracy is underpinned on three areas. One is the media, one is the political, that's the parliamentary system, and the third is the judiciary. And if there is a threat on any three of them, there's a severe dent into democracy. And whether it is CHAPA, whether it is Victor Lasantha, whether it is Singha, whether it is Sri Rana Singha, whether it is Frederica, anybody should be basically protected. Because now, he mentioned about this. This is a very vivid thing which happened in my electorate, and this happened in the night of the election. And when people of that area was being terrorized, and what he didn't mention, which is not in the statement, was at 3 o'clock in the morning, the PST came and basically surrounded the Velikada police. There were more than 15 Land Rovers that came and said, immediately we would take this off. And I take my hats off to the people in Velikada police who said, you try to shoot, we'll shoot you back 10 times harder. And that is why today it was at that level. And I mean, where is it? It is copied to the President, Deputy Minister of Defense.
Of course.
Nothing has happened.
No, I will tell you.
Yes, CHAPA, yes.
Now the problem is, there is a crisis in the judicial system also. That started with the CJ's issue, Saratnanda Silva. You know what happened? right? If I talk in Sinhala, what happened was අග විනිසුරුවරයා වත්මන් ඔහුට එරෙහිව නඩු දෙකක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිදහසට කාරණා අහන වෙලාවක අභියාචනාධිකරණය වත්මන් ජනාධිපතිවරිය ඔහුව අග විනිසුරුවරයා බවට පත් කරනවා. අග විනිසුරුවරයා බවට පත් කරන්නේ නිකන් නෙවෙයි. ඒ පිටිපස්සේ තියෙන පණිවිඩයක්. පණිවිඩය තමයි උඹලා ඕන එකක් කියපල්ලා. උඹලා ඕන එකක් කියපල්ලා මම ඔහුව මේ රටේ නීතිය බවට පත් කරනවා. මෙතන තියෙන පණිවිඩයක්. එතනින් එහාට අධිකරණය පිළිබඳව රටේ පුරවැසියෙකුට සැකයක් පහළ වෙනවා. කෙටි උදාහරණයක් කියන්න පේරාදෙණි මල්වත්ති මම කැමති එක්තරා සිද්ධියක් කියන්න. පේරාදෙණි මල්වත්ති ඔබ දන්නවා ආපන ශාලාවේ හිමිකරු රංජිත් කියන පුද්ගලයා මරා දැම්මා පෙබරවාරි 5 වෙනිදා. ඔහු මරා දාන්නේ දේපොළ ප්‍රශ්නයකට. දැන් සොයාගෙන යන කරුණු අනුව පොලිසිය පිළිගන්න ආකාරයට මේ මිනිමරුම සිද්ධ කරලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ පුද්ගලයාගේ හිටපු බිරිඳ ලක්ෂ්මී කුසුමලතා කියන කාන්තාව. මේ සිද්ධිය පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්නවා රෝහණ කුමාර නැමැති පුද්ගලයෙක්. ඒ පුද්ගලයා පසුව හෙළිදරව් වන ආකාරයට අගවිනිසුරුවරයාගේ නිල නිවස බාර බින පුද්ගලයා. දැන් මේ වෙනකොට මාධ්‍ය හරහා මේ ගැන කතා කරමින් තියෙනවා. දැන් අවසාන විග්‍රහයේදී මේ දේපොළ සම්බන්ධ ප්‍රශ්නයට රංජිත් එරෙහිව දිගින් දිගටම ඔවුන් පොලිසිය ඒ කියන්නේ මහනුවර පේරාදෙණිය එතකොට අපරාධ විමර්ශන දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන දිගින් දිගට මේ පුද්ගලයාට එරෙහිව බොරු නඩු පවරනවා. මම කියන්නේ සාක්ෂි ඇතුව. ඊට පස්සේ අවසානයේදී මේ නඩු සියල්ලෙන් මේ පුද්ගලයා ජයග්‍රහණය කරනකොට අවසානයේදී දේපොළ පිළිබඳ නඩුවක් කතා කරනවා. ඒ නඩුව අවසානයේ අභියාචනාධිකරණය දක්වා එනවා. අවසාන මොහොතේ ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නඩු සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරන්නේ ජනාධිපති නීතිඥ ශ්‍රීනාත් පෙරේරා. නඩුව ඔහුට පක්ෂව විසඳමින් තියෙනවා. එතකොට දෙවෙනි පාර්ශ්වය තීන්දුව කරනවා තීන්දුව. ඔවුන් තීන්දුව කරනවා අපි උඹ මරනවා. මම කියන්නේ මේ ගැඹුර අපි වටහා ගත යුතුයි. දැන් මේ රටේ නීති අභිබවා යන අපරාධ පිළිබඳ ආයතනගත වීමක් තියෙනවා. රටේ නායිකාව කැබිනට් ඇමතිවරු, മന്ത്രിවරු පක්ෂ විපක්ෂ බෙහෙදකින් තොරව කියනවා අපිට අවශ්‍ය අවනීතිය. අපි මේ රටේ මිනි මරනවා. අපි ඒගොල්ලන් බේර ගන්නවා. ඔව් අපි ළඟ ඉන්නේ අපරාධකාරයෝ තමයි. පුළුවන් දෙයක් කරපල්ලා. එවැනි තත්වයකට රට අපරාධ ආයතනගත කරලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මම ඔබට පැහැදිලිවම කිව්වේ බැද්දගන්නේ සංජීව කියන පුද්ගලයා අවම වශයෙන් ප්‍රශ්න කිරීමට ලක් කරාද? අවම වශයෙන් ඔහු එම සේවයෙන් ඉවත් කරාද? රටේ නායිකාවගේ ආරක්ෂක අංශීන පුද්ගලයෙක්. මොකද්ද මේ විහිළුව? දැන් ඔබට මම කියන්නම්. මම සිද්ධීන් දෙකක් එක්ක යන්න කැමතියි. දැන් අපි ගලිගමු ප්‍රාදේශීය සභාවේ වහල් ගණිකා මඩමක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් හෙළිදරව් කිරීමක් කරා. ඒ කියන්නේ අහිංසක ගෑනු ළමයි බලහත්කාරයෙන් අරගෙන ගිහලා ඌන දූෂණය කළ විකුණනවා. මේ සිද්ධිය මැදිලන්ද වලව්වේ සිද්ධ වුණේ. බොහොම ඈතක. බෝගලපතලේ මංකොල්ලත් එක්ක තමයි මේක මතුවෙන්නේ. මේකට සම්බන්ධ ගලිගමු ප්‍රාදේශීය සභාවේ සභාපති. අනිත් එක්කන පින්දිනිය පොලිසිය OIC ස්ථානාධිපතිවරයා. මතක තියාගන්න ෆෙඩ්රිකා මේ සියලුම කාරණා නමින් සියලුම දත්තයන් එක පුවත්පත්වල පළ වුණා. රාවය හරහා අපි හෙළිදරව් කෙරුවා. විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඊට සම්බන්ධ ප්‍රතිවිරුද්ධ කණ්ඩායම් පොලිස් ප්‍රතිවරයා දක්වා ගියා. ළමා කාන්තා කාර්යාංශයට ගියා. මානව හිමිකම් සංවිධානයට ගියා. කොමිසම් සභාවට. ඊළඟට හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න අපරාධ වෙනුවෙන් කතා කරන නිල වශයෙන් පෙනී සිටින කොටගදෙනිය කියන පොලිස් නිලධාරිය ළඟටත් ගියා. අවසාන වශයෙන් සිද්ධ වුණේ මොකද්ද? තවමත් ප්‍රාදේශීය සභාවේ සභාපති වැඩ ඒ ස්ථානෙම ඉන්නවා. පින්දිනි පොලිසිය වයිසිත් එම ස්ථානෙම ඉන්නවා. මෙතනයි මේ ප්‍රශ්න කළ යුතු මේ ගැඹුරයි අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැත්තේ. කිසි කෙනෙකුට මේ තත්ත්වය තුල ආරක්ෂාවක් නැහැ. අද අපි කියනවා කස්ටම් ඔෆිසර් මැරි පෞද්ගලික කාරණයකට කියලා. හෙට තවත් කෙනෙක් මැරුවොත් කිය යාගේ වෙන මොකක් හරි කාරණයක් නිසා මැරුවා කියලා. මතක තියාගන්න ෆෙඩ්රිකා අපිට දවසින් දවස ගිලී යන මේ රටේ නීති පිළිබඳ විශ්වාසය. ඊට පැහැදිලිවම අවම වශයෙන් අගවිනිසුරුවරයාගේ පත් කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් එය විග්‍රහ කරොත් අවම වශයෙන් රටේ නායිකාවට වගකීමක් තිබුණා. එම අවස්ථාවේ ඔහුව අවම වශයෙන් ඒ පත් කිරීම කල් දාන්න. එතනයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ. මම හිතන්නේ මේ සියලුම අපරාධ එක්ක අපිට විග්‍රහ කරන්න වෙන්නේ එතනදී.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now it was stated we must be sorry for the grounds of that customs officer who was killed. Now, after the death of Game Disanayaka, before that Premadasa was the president at that time. Game Disanayaka was the presidential candidate. In the 1994, after this government came into power, they appointed commissions for Kobe Gaduwa, Lalita Tulatputali and Vijay Kumarutu. Now these are two prominent people who have led the country for some time, sacrificed a lot. Up to date, I appeared in that Premadasa case, murder case. There were 25 suspects taken into custody from Kehelwartha. But it was considered it was a suicide bomber who killed this person, Premadasa. Those 25 people were innocent thrillers. They were residing right around that Kehelwartha residence of the president itself. They were kept in remand for 6 to 7 months. I had to fight. Ultimately, the CID considered they had nothing to do. Later, I made an application, being the president. At least a commission may be appointed to go into this matter and see what has been done. No commission. But still the case is kept on calling. Investigations are pending for the last 10 years by the CID. Gamini Disanayaka's case was called. You won't believe, not a single suspect was arrested. That case was called only once, file was closed. Then some lawyers came and made an application, appoint a commission. Present government, they refused. These are prominent people.
So this justifies what CHAPA was just trying to say, yes.
1 minute, sir, right? Now, with all respect, I want to say, I being a Tamil, I have to draw a small line here. Not about the LTT. I am born and bred in Colombo. But as a Tamil, I have to tell you this. Today, because of this civil war, number of youths every day come by train to fort. They get down because they want to go abroad for employment. Each and every fellow who comes to the station immediately arrested. Immediately arrested, taken to the police station, taken to the CID, taken to the TID, kept in reward. That fellow, innocent fellow, he has come with some money and something to go abroad, get some employment. Kept in remand, detained, no evidence, merely allegation, you have assisted the LTT. Then they get a confessionary statement from that individual. Under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, a confessionary statement is applicable. You get him to sign. You are kept in remand and detention for nearly 1.5 years. So that particular poor fellow is convicted only on his own statement side. There is no other independent evidence. After that he is convicted at 1.5 to 2 years. Some fellows get out of fundamental right cases or something like that, they get out. This is a situation where these police officers even extract money from these type of fellows. This is a situation. So they feel, rather than this underworld and various other things, getting hold of a Tamil man from Jaffna, threatening him to detain him under the PTA is more profitable. And that is why they are concentrating on those things more.
Right,
yes,
but it comes back to the same old story. That means the police is not functioning.
Of course.
Yeah, the functionlessness of the police is the problem. Now, it was mentioned before in Galigamo, it is mentioned that a Pradesh Sabha chairman and OIC of that area has been basically up to nefarious activities and they're taken to highest levels and still there's no recourse to it. Now, basically you saw in India, when the BJP just 3 weeks ago, when there was a problem, when there was a 100,000 rupee bribe, the defense minister was a very formidable man who last government toppled because of Ferdinand. He resigned just because of a 100,000 rupee bribe allegation. The chairman of BJP resigned on the same basis. Today, what happens? People we have proved beyond doubt, whether it's Alanka, whether it's PNO, whether it's Steel Corporation, the higher you take, the more confirmed you become into the position. Now,
by the way, Tilan has resigned.
I mean, he is another scapegoat in the system. I mean, why use him? It is the people who give this. See, when the government gets whacked, they take the innocent man out of the system and hit him. You know, I mean, basically.
So you should have resigned earlier. BOI chairman is innocent.
Absolutely.
You say the BOI chairman is innocent.
He is part of the system where, because we are hitting at the government and say everything is happening from that element, they sacrifice the lowest level. I mean, the person in charge. Today the entire defense system is under the president. Today the economy is in dire straits, is under the president. I mean, basically she is responsible for today's problem and nobody ever dares talk of it.
Mr. Senigarapan, could you tell us on what basis is the Inspector General of Police appointed?
Well, it used to be, and quite rightly, on seniority, the most senior
Or the Public Service Commission.
The Public Service Commission makes the appointment, but the selection, of course, the Inspector General of Police, apart from the other posts, should be a person in whom the government has confidence, especially a period like this.
Yes.
That we cannot dispute.
So it is on that basis.
I
Not so
suppose
much
so.
on a merit basis.
I suppose so.
So that they can do their dirty work through the IGP. That is why the independent police commission is necessary. They wanted to have an IGP to get their dirty work done. They want an army commander for that, navy commander. Public members of the Public Service Commission must be appointed by them. Judicial Service Commission members. All these people, they appoint for their own country whom they can do.
Let me answer this fully. As you spoke of the present Inspector General of Police, well, I know that he resigned and then retired from the service when he was transferred to an operational place. And he said that he didn't join the police to do army work. That's not our job.
So on that basis, he resigned.
left. Then governments changed, and he comes back as a political victim, same political victimization, and then becomes IGP also.
So he was
and now
not
he is
even
sending
appointed-
everybody else to those places where he refused to go. So
he was
what
not-
is the morale of the service?
So he was
The man
not-
like that at the head.
Right. So he was not even appointed on a seniority basis because he was out of service for about 13 years. You're talking of a
That's right.
period like that.
I can't say how many years. It was around when this operational thing
Yes,
started,
it was
about
matter.
82, 83, I think he left and came back after the new government came.
Setika, I want to highlight something.
Yes.
You know, now there is a difference between Gamini Disanayaka's case and this trend. There is a trend you have to understand.
Yes.
The thing that you have to understand is now the killer is there. Everybody knows who the killer is. He says, yes, I killed him. Right? Weapon is there. Okay. The case is going on. Right? Ultimately, the president or the cabinet minister says, no, don't touch him. Let him work. So you have to understand this. I mean, now Gamini, Disanayak and other politicians are killed. Nobody knows, right?
Yes.
It is in the history, say.
Right.
It is in the history. Nobody knows.
Not that nobody knows. People thought it is the
Right,
LTD.
okay, right.
And the chapter was closed.
Right,
But
chapter
there is
was
no
closed.
evidence to show
Okay.
even the LTD did that.
Now, you have to understand there is a difference now.
Yes.
Now I would like to mention CJ's case again. Everybody knew what happened, right? Started from Lenin Ratnayaka's case. Lenin Ratnayaka කියන මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරයා මම කැමති මේ සිද්ධියට එන්න නැත්නම් මේ වාචාල කතාවක් වෙනවා. Lenin Ratnayaka කියන මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරයා තමන් ඉදිරියේ ඉන්න පැමිණිලිකාරියක්ව දූෂණය කරනවා. එතකොට මේ දූෂණය කරපු සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් දිගහැරෙන කතාව තමයි අවසානයේ මේ දක්වා එන්නේ. මතක තියාගන්න වැදගත් කාරණයක් මේ දූෂණයටපත් වූ කාන්තාවගේ සැමියා අභියාචනාධිකරණයේ ත්‍රිපුද්ගල කමිටුවක් ඉදිරියේ දීපු ප්‍රකාශය මම කැමති මතක් කරන්න. ඔහු කිව්වා හෙක්ටර් යාපා කියන විනිසුරුවරයා ඉදිරියේ ඔහු තමයි ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඉතාම වැදගත් ප්‍රකාශය කෙරුවේ. ඔහු කිව්වා මම තවමත් විශ්වාස කරන්නේ මගේ අත් දෙක කියලා. ඔහු කිව්වා මේ පරීක්ෂණ වලට මම hina වෙනවා. මගේ බිරිඳ දූෂණය කරපු මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරයා සම්බන්ධයෙන් නීති ඉෂ්ට වෙයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට හෙක්ටර් යාපා විනිසුරුවරයා ඔහුගෙන් ඇහුවා ඔහුට කිව්වා කරුණාකරලා මේ රාවය පුවත්පතේ කතුරුවරයා කියන විදිහටම නීති අතට ගන්න එපා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ වෙනකොට රාවය හරහා කතා කරලා තිබුණා වික්ටයිවන් ඔහුට කිව්වා නීති අතට ගන්න එපා අපි උපරිම දේ කරමු. උපරිම දේ කෙරුවා. ඔහු hina වුණා. ඕක මම නූගත් මහත්තයෝ. මම දන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් මේක වෙන්නේ නැහැ ලංකාවේ. ලංකාවේ වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ඔහු මෑතක වික්ටර්ට ටෙලිෆෝන් කෝල් එකක් දීලා අමතුමක් තියලා ඇහුවා දැන් අර මං කියපු දේ හරි නේද? මගේ නූගත්කමට කියපු දේ හරි නේද? ඔව් අහනවා. මම කියන්නේ මේ වෙනස අපි තේරුම් ගත යුතු. දැන් අපරාධ ආයතනගත වෙනවා. මගේ වචනේ ආයතනගත කරනවා නීතිගත කරනවා. දැන් මම කැමති
Institutionalized.
Yes.
correct. Now he is also Sarath also have this he also has this experience what happened in Kalaniya police sector, right? What happened was one of girls raped by two people. මේ සිද්ධි පිටපස්සේ සරත් ඉන්න මට නිවුස් එක ගැන කතා කරන්න. ආලෝක බණ්ඩාර කියන පොලිස් ස්ථානාධිපතිවරයා කැලණිය පොලිසිය තවමත් ඉන්න පොලිස් ස්ථානාධිපතිවරයා ආලෝක බණ්ඩාර ඔහු මේ දූෂණයටපත් වූ දැරිය විරුද්ධව චෝදනා ගොනු කරන්න තමයි මුලදෙලම උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. ඔහු මේ දූෂකයන් දෙදෙනාගේ පැත්ත අරගෙන විත්තිය වාචකය ඔප්පු කරන් තමයි තොරතුරු එකතු කරන්නේ. මේ ප්‍රෙසිඩන්ට් සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ මේකට. ඒ දෙවෙනි කතාව. මේ ක්‍රමයේ තුල මේ ඇතිවෙන තත්ත්වයන් මේවා තමයි side effects of the system.
Yes.
Right? When the president says yes, you can do, then they continue their work.
Gives the green light to crime.
That is true. Then what happened was මේ ළමයාගේ මේ දූෂණයටපත් වූ දැරියගේ වෛද්‍ය වාර්තාව එන්නත් කලින් ඔහු ලියනවා මහේස්ත්‍රාත් වරයාට ඔහුගේ වාර්තාව. ඔහු ඒක අවසාන වශයෙන් කියනවා මේ වෙනකොට දූෂණයටපත් වූ දැරිය සම්බන්ධ වෛද්‍ය වාර්තාවක් නැහැ. මේ ඊටම සමීප කාලයක සිද්ධ වෙන සිද්ධියක්. ඔහු අවසානයේදී කියනවා මෙම සිද්ධිය පැමිණිලිකාරිය සිය කැමැත්තෙන් ජනක ප්‍රසාද් සමග අඹුසැමියන් ලෙස සිට ඇති බවට පරීක්ෂණවලදී හෙළිදරව් වූ අතර මෙම නදීකා ප්‍රියාශීලී නැමැත්තිය ඒ කියන්නේ දූෂණයටපත් වූ දැරිය අසත්‍ය ප්‍රකාශයක් කළ බව හෙළිදරව් වී ඇති හේයින් මෙම දෙදෙනාට විරුද්ධව චෝදනා පත්‍රයක් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට නොහැකි අතර දූෂකයන් දෙදෙනා පැමිණිලිකාරියට විරුද්ධව අධිකරණයේ මගින් සුදුසු පියවරක් ගන්නා මෙන් ගෞරවයෙන් ගරු අධිකරණයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිමි. මේ ගැන කතා කරන්න the right person is Sarath, he will tell you the balance. අන්තිමට මතක තියාගන්න මේ දැරිය සියදින හානි කරගත්තා. ඇය මැරුණා. ඒ මැරුණේ ඇය උසාවි ගණනාවකට ගිහිලා නීතිඥවරු ගණනාවකට තමන්ව දූෂණය කරපු විදිහ ගැන කියලා. අවසානයේදී ඇය මැරුණා. මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නීතිය ප්‍රශ්න කරපු සරත්ලට හම්බ වෙච්ච උත්තරේ සරත් කියාවි. Sarath, you can explain what happened.
So these are isolated incident. If you are interested in, I can tell.
No, but I think what comes out of
I
that
don't
is not
think
just...
it's the order of the day.
No, of course. The problem, he wrote to different places. I think even to the president. Right? Now he is a lawyer, right? He is a responsible character, citizen in Sri Lanka. He said this happened. So these are things that are going on, and the police. These the thing that police did.
You see,
And did you get a reply to your letter?
The victims are isolated.
That's right.
Always the victim is isolated. The perpetrators are united.
But, and did you get a reply to the letters you wrote?
No, I just want to
But did you get a
highlight it.
reply?
Yes, I have all the documents here. Now, since this matter is not proceeding, we have written to every institution, AG, president, everybody, but since this is not proceeding, we wrote to the president of the country. In the meantime, the girl committed suicide. So thereafter, this whole matter was taken up by the Association of the Magistrate Court, Lawyers Association of the Magistrate Court, and the Lawyers Association has written to the President, Minister of Defence, Minister of Justice, Minister of Women's Affairs, Attorney General, CJ, but very sad to say, not acknowledgement was sent to the association up to date.
And Alok Bandar otherwise he is still serving the same police station.
So what do we do in this whole situation? Okay, perhaps Mr. Ravi Karunanayaka could maybe bring things like this up in Parliament. What do people like you and I do? Both of you are lawyers, you are a journalist. Mr. Senivaratna, you have served in the police
of
force.
course, as a provincial council member, only there are certain subjects that can be brought to. For example, after the 13th Amendment, the law and order subject, that the police force also should have been given to the provincial council. But though they have given certain powers, police, the security system and the police powers are withheld. They are not gazetted. Only if they gazette it and give it to the provincial council, that particular provincial can take over and control the police. So unfortunately, that powers are not given. That is why the central government wants to have that power.
No,
though the provincial council is entitled under the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. Yes. But the central government is withholding the police powers because they know for their survival, the police powers are the most important thing.
So what do we all do in this situation, Mr. Charles? What can we do, or is it just beyond repatriation? I mean,
only thing I can say is this: we must thank people like Ravia, your electronic medias and papers, because media, the pen is more powerful than the sword. Keep on highlighting these type of things and bring it to the notice of the public.
That's all that can be done.
Maximum you all can do. Of the rest of the things, of course, the politicians will have to do.
But as a nation, what can the public do?
Politicians have to do, and we expect our party is taking a number of steps, and we are expecting taking steps for the people to participate with us to go forward. That encouragement should come.
Well, my practical experience is that we should make laws for the sinners and not for the saints. Right. That is my true feeling. Let us make it as most difficult as we could. And also, I would say, while the politicians, we are doing this, we are talking Parliament, but we are only heard and not being listened. So whatever that we speak is a waste of time. That is why the United National Party under Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, we have initiated this independent commission. But I only hope it's brought in its true spirit, and not to say like the Bribery and Corruption Commission, which is important as anything that could be, and they select their target, not bribery and corruption, but they target political opponents. Yeah. So what I suggest is that definitely we must have an independent police, judicial, independent election commission, public service commission, and also media, because that is the most important thing. Then the next one is that people also must become civic conscious. There is today, out of the 18 million people, we have only 62-63% people voting. Now that is one civic consciousness being taken away. Then you look at if these type of things happen, even in a mad country like Bosnia, people got on the streets and chased that president away. You look at Philippines, they have got rid of 2 presidents.
Indonesia.
And
why is that not happening here?
That is the case, because I guess...
As Ravi says, people are not civic conscious. That is why I say it is the duty of the media to make them civic conscious, because if politicians go and talk, they say, oh, this man is coming only to take a vote. After that, he will never
Mr. Karunanayaka, one last question before we close. You know, what guarantee can you give the people that in the event you are voted into power, that you too will not one day become a corrupt politician?
Frederica, all I could say is that I got elected into government and walked out of government. And I hope, God willing, the United National Party is brought in today and not tomorrow, because this country has no future beyond tomorrow. So if United National Party, as soon as it comes in, and if they ever resort to such a thing, I'll be the first to voice my strongest protest. And if it's not corrected, I'll be the first to resign.
But that will serve the purpose too.
No, the problem is this.
Then he is leaving the party. What is the purpose?
Yes,
Stay inside and
exactly.
lead it.
Just running out of
Okay, I
time.
stay in and fight the system. Well, if that, I accept that. I accept that.
Charles said that he talked about delegation of powers. He said law and order must be given to the provincial council. So what is the guarantee that provincial council will do?
Exactly.
Will not do the same.
It will
Chapa,
only,
you like to
it
say
will only make a
something?
bad case worse, because I think institutionalizing at the helm, and if that helm is controlled, then I think it is. But if you decentralize it without a proper mechanism, it will only go into mayhem. So I totally take it from a true spirit, as I said, let laws be made for the sinners and not for the saints.
There's one other point.
Yes.
Mr. Karnataka said that if the independent election commission, police commission and public service commission is appointed, everything is okay. Now all these commissions.
He didn't say everything was
No, I didn't say
no,
okay.
sir,
It is the prescription for a better life, for a better democracy.
What is the guarantee?
Okay, let's, Chapa, what is your opinion? If these commissions are appointed,
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to tell you is,
you are
Federica,
saying nothing will happen.
Yeah, you know what happened?
I would like to make a point on that.
Yes.
Since the executive presidency is there.
No,
Quickly,
we
we are
have
just running
had
out of time,
so-called
I'm sorry.
independent commissions,
Yes.
like the bribery commission, then human rights commissions. They were called independent commissions, but they were very dependent on the government for
So that is your
finances
opinion
and
also,
everything.
Chapa?
No, what I'm trying to tell you is, if they really want,
reservation.
they really want, I mean the UNP and other politicians in Sri Lanka, ඉතා පැහැදිලිව පේන අගවිනිසුරුවරයාගේ දෝෂාභියෝගය ගේන්න අධිකරණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් තමට ස්වාධීන අදහසක් තියෙනවා නම් හදිසි නීතිය පරාජය කරන්න ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයට අභියෝග කරන අපරාධවලට අනුබල දෙන මේ කාරණා දෙකේදීම රටේ ප්‍රධාන විපක්ෂ සහ දේශපාලන පක්ෂ නිහඬයි මම එතන විශ්වාස කරනවා වුන් ගන්නා ඊළඟ පියවරේදී නියත වශයෙන්ම කිසිම දෙයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Okay, with that, I have to end tonight's program. If you have any comments about tonight's show, you can write into Telisha Networks Limited at Dampe Piliandala or to our email address, which is crosstalk@eureka.lk. Until next Saturday night, good night, and a very special thank you to my panelists who were with us tonight. Good night.